Welcome to the Making of Me podcast. Today's guest is Alain Luxembourg, an identity and resilient coach who transforms how leaders, founders, and high achievers think about success, identity, and family integrations. Alien's journey through financial collapse, addiction, and silence shaped him into the conscious leaders and present father and husband. He helps people integrate ambition with personal life so that success doesn't come at the cost of identity, relationship, or well-being.
Thank you. Very nice to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you. So, Elian, you have said that growing up or through financial collapse, addictions, and silence shape who you are today. How did that earlier experience influence your approach to leadership and life?
I'm from the Netherlands and we had a very nice life, as I mentioned. So we had everything that I can remember. So a big house, boats, swimming pool. And that was the norm for me to grow up. And at one point, all of a sudden you start to realize when you're young that things are not going the way they're supposed to. So you feel that things are crumbling. And at one point, I noticed that my parents split up. So that was quite hard for me already. But that was not the only thing. Then I saw people actually showing up to the door and asking me, "Is your father home?" And I said, "No, well, we're here collect furniture and TVs." And I was like, okay, something is really wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I saw after that also that because of the divorce and the collapse of everything that my father had built really shaped his identity. And he couldn't handle that. So he started drinking heavily. And yeah, that just kept deteriorating year after year. And it was really hard for me as well because I tried to be there for him, but it felt like he didn't want to. And I was always just in his corner. But I was also growing up. I was a young guy, I needed to go to high school. I wanted to hang out with friends and I couldn't always be there. So I had to do an internship for my study in London. And I went there and I just felt like, okay, I have a place that I can build my own
Yeah.
identity without anybody knowing me. And that's what I started to do. So I worked in hospitality from the lowest ranks on cleaning plates into becoming a waiter and then becoming a restaurant manager. And then ultimately, I made the switch to go into the world of IT, where I am now still today.
Wow. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. So many high achievers are tie their identity only to success. What are the hidden dangers of this and how can leaders avoid them?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think what in the past happens to you that actually shapes you, that you become. And I always say to my wife as well, is I have two children, young boys, and it doesn't matter what we do, they will get a trauma. Maybe we're even too sweet and they get a trauma. You can never please anybody. And that becomes sort of your identity. But if you start to reinvent yourself, like everybody, it's now January, wants to go to
Yeah.
the gym and have a diet, create a new identity. But it's a serious thing. We should do that with our own inner self as well. Is am I still the person that I was 5 years ago, or 1 year ago, or 10 years ago? And I'm not. And if you think, I remember my uncle once invested into buying a mobile home and it was a scam and he lost 25,000 euros. And I said, yeah, I said to him, if that would happen to me, I wouldn't want to live anymore. And he's like, you're crazy. It's only money. And now I feel the same, I want to be there for people. I want to make people happy. I want to support people. And I want to make sure that they don't think that money is their identity. Because I've never seen on a gravestone, I wish I worked more. And my gravestone is I want to be a loving husband and father for my children. That's my identity.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. So silent burnout and emotional absence often go unnoticed. How can leaders recognize this sign in themselves before it's too late?
That's absolutely a great question. I think there's a reason we have two ears and one mouth. And that's because when we talk to somebody, we already know the answer. But actually, when you talk to your employee or when you coach with somebody, as you're doing now with me, you're asking me questions so I can speak. And it's usually the first layer where people still have a defense. But if you ask more from, hey, are you all right today? You seem a bit off. Is everything okay? And I say, yeah, it's fine. Everything is okay. Usually we move on. Okay, can you do this for me? But if you say, okay, but I feel something is wrong. Can you tell me what happened? And you find the most crazy stuff. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I'm a bit grumpy, or even I lost somebody in my family. But we skip it. When you see somebody, you say, hey, how are you? Somebody says, yeah, good, how are you? But you never say, I'm not good, my ear is aching, nothing. So we need to think about the second or the third layer to actually discover how people actually are feeling.
Wow. Amazing how people actually feel by giving them a listening ear, asking more like questions. You can get to kind of see their silent burnout. Amazing. So you emphasize integration over balance. How can ambitious leader align work, family, and personal growth without one suffering from the other?
Again, another great question. It's, yeah, thinking about what is your life goal. And so, for example, if my goal is to become a CEO, then I want it tomorrow, right? We all want it tomorrow. That's why there's pills to lose weight. You know, you want to get a six pack
Yeah.
tomorrow. Yeah. But we need to be realistic and think about, okay, what steps do I have to take? So reverse how you can become a CEO. And is that a 1 year plan, a 5 year plan, a 10-year plan? And Tony Robbins says it beautifully. People overestimate what they can achieve in a short time and underestimate what they can achieve in a long time.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. Looking at your goal, estimate it again, and keep working at it. I think the key point you just make reference to there, I just don't know, it's being realistic because sometimes a whole lot of persons have a whole lot of goals stack up, not being realistic of is it measurable? Is it something I can actually get to kind of yeah, work out within the shortest period? And it's really, really key.
Exactly.
So, in your experience, what role does family and upbringing plays in shaping how we define success and response to pressure?
I have the most beautiful story for you. There
Shoot,
is,
I would love it.
yeah, there's two brothers in America that grow up. And actually, it's close to my heart because I experienced kind of the same. And their father was a drunk and a criminal. And actually, he died. So years later, they went to look at the brothers, what turned out into their life. And the interviewer went to the first brother who was in prison and an alcoholic and asked, how did this happen that you ended up here? He says, how else could I not become this because of my father? They went to the second brother who was multimillionaire and they asked him, how come that you became this in your life? And he said, how else could I not become this because of my father? So it's the image. If you look left and you see beautiful, that's where you need to go. But we mostly see the negative because that draws to us and that shapes our identity sometimes. But if you think about all the things you have,
Yeah,
then you can be happy.
yeah, amazing. I think this just speaks volumes to going through this particular trauma sometimes in family and everything. If one didn't get to forgive themselves and heal from those particular traumas, why after the period that actually went on, you might go ahead recreating same pattern, not knowing that you are repeating it compared to when you go through it, you forgive yourself, forgive everyone that was involved in it, and go ahead and serve it as a motivation to do better. Yeah, really amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, what are some of the practical tools or exercise leaders can use to become more present with their teams and family?
So with you said with their teams and your family, right? So I think if you can be the small things with your teams, for example, I used to do that and I'm trying to catch myself to do that. If somebody says in an email, "Hello, good morning, how are you? Did you have a nice New Year or Christmas?" I would just reply the answer. I would say, "Hey, this is the answer," or "Hey, this is what I need from you." But if you get from somebody a message from, "Hey, Alain, how are you today? Did you have a nice Christmas?" Reply back. Say, "Hey, I had a great Christmas. How about you? Did you have a great Christmas?" Start with the small things to actually show kindness. And in terms of my family life, is be transparent. I have nothing to hide from my children. And I tell them as well is I can fail, I make mistakes. And I remember one time my children, I said something to them and they both got upset with me and they said, "Dad, you're wrong." And I was sure I was right. I'm the dad. I'm like, what happens here? But I paused and I said, actually, boys, I think you're right. I think I'm wrong. And I won't forget the eyes in their face, like, our father is saying we're right. I'm like, yeah, I make mistakes too. And this is the first time I'm a father. I will make more mistakes. But that's
Wow, I like that line, especially when you see this your first time of being a father. You just don't know it. Like, yeah, it's a one-time stuff. We have not come to life before to be a father. Yeah, that is really, really amazing and so emotional. So how do you guide leaders to confront unspoken pressures, whether at work or in personal life, without feeling shame or failure?
talking is one of the most important skills to have. And again, it's that principle that when you speak to somebody, you need to get clarity. So if I say I want to get a six pack again, right? But I work 6 times a week. I love sitting on the couch watching Netflix with popcorn. I don't think I'm gonna get that goal very fast. But most of us set goals because of everything happens around us, popular people on podcasts or movie stars, and they all think I need that life too. So I want to be a millionaire, get rich quick. But is your value that you are creating now going to achieve to that goal? And most of the time is not. Break down those goals, talk about those goals, and set realistic goals. So why don't we start with first 10K? And when you achieve that goal, see if we can compound it some way.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. See if you can actually more like compound it somewhere, talk about it. I think even just talking about it sometimes will remove the burdens of shame and the failures, being that, yeah, you get to kind of hear a different way of actually achieving that particular goal or better way to do things differently. That's really amazing. So for high performance, struggling with ambitions and emotional well-being, what mindset shifts are the most impactful?
Most important mind shift is that, again, if we look at the Beatles, right? One of the most famous bands in the world. Yeah. Everybody says when they became successful, but they are the Beatles, right? So it's easy for them. But they did thousands of shows in
Yeah,
small clubs.
thousands.
Nobody sees that or think that, but and that's the thing. Same with, look, you are doing this podcast, right? And there will be people saying, "Oh, you're crazy doing this. Nobody's gonna do it." The same for me, Alan. Why are you doing this? Nobody's gonna listen. Okay, let's go. Let's just try.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. I think this just speaks volumes too. Sometimes I think there's a particular quote that usually guide me personally when I'm doing this particular thing. Says, the fact that critic does not know shit. A whole lot of persons who get to criticize a lot of persons. Most times they have not done similar things. It's only if they have done similar things. Sometimes I will only give them a listening ear. If they haven't, then you don't have any advice for me. So I think they just speak volumes to it on how you could actually, if you're high achievers, yeah, more like as much as you're willing to hear advice, criticism should not be one of them. And the fact that if they have not gone that route, they shouldn't be an authority when it comes to make reference of your advice towards it. And this is really amazing. Yeah. So if a listener could take one action today to integrate their ambition, identity, and family life more consciously, what would you suggest?
Okay, now you're asking me for the silver bullet or the diamond, and that's the thing I always do, right? I've had like more than 10 coaches so far, and I'm still now in a new trajectory with a new coach, I'm doing it myself. I'm actually also speaking to psychologists soon, just out of interest to see do I have hidden traumas or something like that. Because I also have very, very bad days still. I lost my father, and that still hits me and affects me. So all I can say to these people is when you look at a movie star, right? How many of the famous movie stars have you seen had depression, gone to jail, had issues with them because of their fame? Fame isn't everything it is. What real life pleasures are is what do you love? And for me, it's helping people. So people who struggle, who are sad, I want to help them. Find that and build something around that, and then you will live a happy life.
Yeah.
But one thing, Aro, is I live in the Netherlands. It rains a lot here. But that means our summers are beautiful because there's a lot of green.
Yeah.
So if I would wish there is never rain, then my country would be
Yeah.
very dry. So after the rain, the sun comes. And if you think about that, this moment will pass. All is going to be okay.
Wow, this momentum path. I think that is very encouraging. The fact that if anybody listening now is having more like a bad time, is having failure, is having setback, is having a whole lot of things, shame and everything. It's just that this ones will so come to pass, meaning that yeah, there's seasons to everything, and this can just be one of them. Yeah, amazing. Thank you so much. So, for those who actually want to connect with you, who want to hear more from you, and who want to reach out to you to for a service or one thing or the other, how can they reach out to you, and where is the best platform to do this?
The best way to reach out to me is via LinkedIn. Just send me a direct message or a connection on LinkedIn. Refer to the podcast we had, of course, and I'm be more than happy to speak to anybody or coach them if they want. It's all possible.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Ellen Elizabeth. You just remind us today that true leadership begins with presence, self-awareness, and conscious integrations of work and life. By addressing identities, resilience, and unspoken pressures, leaders can thrive personally and professionally after. Yeah, it's really a pleasure having you on the show. And for everyone, you can reach out to our Alien through his LinkedIn. Yeah, it has really been amazing having you on the show.
Thank you, Aro, and keep doing the amazing work you're doing.